Hey, what's going on, RotoBallers? Welcome to another episode of the Roto Revolution. Doing things a little bit differently again tonight, talking running backs, start 'em or sit 'em. And typically this is a recorded video with Jake and myself, but it is just me tonight pulling the weight by myself. That's okay. Appreciate everybody tuning in tonight to talk a little bit of running backs, and I'm going to try to take some questions tonight as well. Supreme Snipes throwing in the Amari Cooper right away. It is going to be running backs tonight, though, not wide receivers, but plenty to talk about with Amari Cooper. I'll be doing wide receivers tomorrow night. But again, appreciate everybody tuning in. I'm Kyle Richardson, Senior Fantasy Analyst for RotoBaller.com, and again, talking running backs start or sit tonight. And also, normally in our episodes, we break down a few selected players, but tonight I'm going to be going through the entire list of games for this week, week 15. I'm going to talk a little bit about each one, maybe a little bit longer, and some of them as well. So feel free to drop your questions in if you have any, and I will get to those as soon as I can. Make sure you like the video. Number one, first and foremost, if you're a fan of the show and you tune in often, hit that like button for me right away. If you're new to the show, thank you for watching. If you like what you see, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like the video as well. Also, make sure you follow me on Twitter at krich1532. I take a lot of questions over on Twitter, so if for some reason I don't get to your questions on YouTube this week, please make sure you follow me on Twitter. My DMs are always open and I respond over there a little bit more frequently than I can respond here, but stick with me and we'll get you set for what is probably your semifinals. So if you've made it through a crazy week 14, you're ready to roll this week. Hopefully a win puts you in shape for a championship next week. If you play your championship in week 17, don't do that anymore. Stop that. That's not okay. We need to get off of week 17 and come back to week 16. So everyone promise me that if you play a championship in week 17, you will start doing that in week 16. So let's start jumping into it. Right now, Brian brings up James White. Brian, I'm going to be getting to James White here pretty soon. Let's start with, I'm just going to run through the slate of games all the way down. So let's start this Thursday night. Probably going to have a really good game coming up. The Chargers at Kansas City. I'm excited to see that one. Really going to be a really good game, I believe. I know that there are some weather concerns, I believe, as far as wind goes. So I think that's a good sign if we're talking running backs, right? If there's going to be a lot of wind, that's going to affect mostly the quarterbacks, or it's going to affect the wide receivers. If we're going to be focusing on running backs this week, then it helps make these calls a little bit easier. And one of my must-starts last week was not a must-start. He was a dud by all means. Justin Jackson for the Los Angeles Chargers. I think we're finally going to see him this week, people. Let's get excited for Justin Jackson. Justin. Okay, we have to get amped up this time because if you started him last week, you probably burned a lot of you. I didn't have a chance to start him. I didn't own him, but I did put it out there and say Justin Jackson is the guy that I want in my lineup this week. Austin Eckler, he's going to be out. Austin Eckler is not going to be playing this week. We've already know that. Not only is he in the concussion protocol, but he's got neck issues as well. So no Austin Eckler this week. And from everything I've read so far today, okay, this episode's recorded on Tuesdays, but everything I've read so far, it does not sound like Melvin Gordon is going to be starting or playing at all this week, which leaves us with Justin Jackson. Justin Jackson playing against the Kansas City Chiefs, who give up 25.16 points to opposing running backs this year. That is second most in the league. So Justin Jackson is getting an opportunity this week to show what we hoped we would have saw last week. So keep your eye on Justin Jackson. I think he's a start again this week. I think he's a solid flex play. I think he's at least a flex play with some low running back 2, at least potential, especially if he ends up getting a majority of the carries himself, which it looks like at this point he will. And again, like I mentioned, if the wind is an issue, then obviously he becomes an even better play. So with that being said, let's jump over to Spencer Ware. Spencer Ware I also have listed as a start this week. Chargers a little bit better against the run. They are 12th in terms of most points given up, but still, that's quite a bit. 19.8 points to opposing running backs right now. Now, Spencer Ware still had a good game last week, 2 weeks ago, not nearly as much. Damian Williams got a couple of goal line carries, got a touchdown out of that. So Damian Williams was out there sniping some of those touchdown plays from Spencer Ware. But Spencer Ware's contributions in the passing game and the running game, again, in a situation where the weather might not be suitable, he could have a big day as well. So Spencer Ware is another guy that I'm going to fire up this week. So all run game this weekend, or this week on Thursday night in Kansas City. I think we see a lot of that and a little less passing, but Patrick Mahomes with that arm can probably throw through a hurricane and be just fine. So I don't think he will have any issues. I like both of those guys, though. Keep dropping. Well, I don't know. Okay, so Spencer Ware, I'm seeing it out there. He didn't practice today. He has a hamstring injury. Let's just remember though what week we are in. Okay, we are in week 15 right now. These guys, especially the Kansas City Chiefs, who have playoff spots locked up, they just need to get through the regular season. They are resting their guys throughout the week, okay? They are not going to take any chances. It's only Tuesday. There's really no reason for Spencer Ware to be out there running around right now if he's got some sort of a hamstring issue coming on. Now, obviously, it's something you want to keep an eye on, but the good thing is that it is a Thursday night game. So if for some reason Spencer Ware doesn't play, then yeah, you get him out of the lineup and then you put someone else in there. So I appreciate you, Amby, bringing that up. But again, keep in mind that just because they're not practicing right now doesn't mean that they won't play. Okay, just want to shout that out there real quick. Let's move to Saturday. Let's move to the Saturday slot here. John Smith asking, Spencer Ware or Edelman? That is a good question. I would like to go Spencer Ware over Julian Edelman this week. But let's check back on that. In a couple of days. Again, let's see how Spencer Ware's leg plays out. If he's good to go, then 100% I'll go Ware over Edelman. Keeping hydrated. Saturday. Remember, we have Saturday games this week, okay? Keep that in mind when setting your lineups. We've got Saturday games this week. Keith, I'm going Justin Jackson over Gus Edwards in the flex, 100%. Houston at New York. Lamar Miller is a start for me. I'm going to go with Lamar Miller. I'm going to start him. This is a situation where if Houston can get out in front of the Jets, then they can hand the ball off to Miller, give him the opportunity to run away with the game a little bit and go from there. Now, the Jets haven't been bad against the run, especially over the last 4 weeks. They're 23rd in terms of points per game given up, 16.10, so they are playing well against the run. But this is a very good offensive team with Houston. I will still start Lamar Miller. I like this matchup for him. Roll him out there. On the other side of the ball, Elijah McGuire. I talked about him a little bit last night on the waiver wire show. I am going to sit Elijah McGuire this week. Not really interested in starting him, especially, or even though Isaiah Crowell is going to be out this week. I don't love that matchup. Houston's been pretty good against the run. I don't want to run him out there against the Houston defense, only giving up 13.53 fantasy points to opposing running backs over the last 4 weeks. That is 4th best in the league. So not a good start for McGuire. Leave him on your bench. Also on Saturday, we've got the Browns at Denver taking on the Broncos. I want you to temper your expectations with Nick Chubb. Now, I don't want you to necessarily sit Nick Chubb unless you have a plethora of running backs and you're able to start a legit running back one over Nick Chubb. But even though Denver was really bad against the run to begin the year and had issues stopping the run at the beginning of the year, Denver right now over the last 4 weeks is only giving up 14.68 points to opposing running backs. That is 6th best in the league over the last 4 weeks. So even though we have it in our mind that they've given up some big games this season, Denver has played much better against the run. And with that being said, Nick Chubb, more than likely he is going to be in your lineup no matter what, because if you have him this point, he's been a running back one mostly for you especially since Hugh Jackson was fired. But even lately, he's made incredible strides in the passing game. He's playing really well in the passing game, running the ball. He's getting the volume. Everything is there for him to be a good top-tier running back one each and every week. But with this matchup, I want to be careful with it. But unless you have like a legit running back one or a solid play in front of him, more than likely, Nick Chubb will still always be in your lineup. Jake in the chat, hashtag always Chubb. Absolutely, Jake. You know how we do it around here. So that is Saturday for me. Denver, obviously, Phillip Lindsay, he's in your lineup. Don't even think about sitting him. Phillip Lindsay is in there. Kevin wants to know, is it time to drop Kerryon Johnson? If you could pick up Kenneth Dixon or Damian Williams. Yeah, in redraft leagues, go ahead and drop Kerryon Johnson, pick up Kenneth Dixon. Kevin, I would also do that. Jarvis is also on your waiver wire. It depends on what you need more, whether you need the running back or the wide receiver. It doesn't matter. Let's head to Sunday. So the Sunday slate now. Lots of games on Sunday here. The first one, Arizona at Atlanta. Arizona at Atlanta. Ito Smith. Talked about him last night on the waiver wire show as well. He's readily available in a lot of leagues right now. If you needed me to pick one of the running backs out of Atlanta that I would start this week, I would start Ito Smith over Tevin Coleman. Something you probably didn't think we would be saying this year, but I'm saying it right now. Arizona is giving up 25.14 points to opposing running backs. That is third worst in the league. So if you have a running back from Atlanta, you're probably going to start them. Even if you have Tevin Coleman, unless you have a really strong flex play over him, because the opportunity is so high, he's a decent start. But I would start, if I could, Ito Smith over Tevin Coleman. We saw a little bit of the changing of the guard last week with that. So last week, Ito Smith, he did almost identical in carries. So Ito Smith got 11 carries, Tevin Coleman got 10. Ito Smith had 60 yards, Tevin Coleman had 45. So Ito Smith did average a little bit better with his yards per carry. Neither of them got in the end zone at all. Ito Smith, though, he did actually have 2 more receptions. He turned 3 receptions into 14 yards. Tevin Coleman's 1 reception was -4 yards. And this was against a Green Bay Packers team that was winning, that won 34-20 and was up easily heading into the fourth quarter as well. So those garbage time points that were there for Tevin Coleman didn't end up happening. So in that situation, when you see Tevin Coleman, especially in that situation where they're going to be passing the ball a lot headed into the fourth quarter, to see him not get any work, that's scary. That's why I'm not going to trust him this week. If you're dealing with injuries or whatever, that's going to be a team-by-team look, depending on whether or not you start Tevin Coleman. More than likely, he is a no for me. If you own Tevin Coleman and you need somebody, though, and Ito Smith is out there, put your waiver claim in for him as soon as you can. With that being said, though, Arizona. Okay, so Arizona, David Johnson. As heartbreaking as David Johnson has been, and trust me, he's been heartbreaking to all of us that drafted him, even though I didn't draft him. Even though I did not draft him in any of my leagues this year, Atlanta still poses a decent matchup for him. 12th most points given up to running backs, 19.90 to running backs. That's the last 4 weeks. Let me jump over here to the season real quick. Overall in the season, Atlanta giving up 23.09 points to opposing running backs. That is 5th most in the league. So the opportunity is absolutely there for David Johnson to have a big week. You're firing up David Johnson. Don't think about sitting him. Hopefully, if you drafted him and you've made it this far, congratulations. But this could be the week where he makes you forget about the entire season with one huge performance to put you into the fantasy championships. Next game on the slate, we've got the Detroit Lions at the Buffalo Bills. There's no starts in this game. It's an overall bad matchup. I don't care who you have on either side of the ball at running back. You sit them on your bench and you deal with it because it's an awful matchup on both sides of the ball. Detroit, even though they were bad to start the year, since they traded for Snack Johnson, they've been a lot better. So I am not starting anyone from Detroit or Buffalo this week in that matchup. Moving on to Green Bay at the Chicago Bears. A big one for the Bears here after a huge win this past week. Need to take down Green Bay as well at home. For me, I am considering sitting Aaron Jones. And Aaron Jones, truthers, Aaron Jones. My team is a rambling wreck that continues squeaking out wins. Oh, man. Yeah, that's a tough one. So, but a win is a win. I got a win last night on that Dalvin Cook touchdown. So imagine me jumping around my house because I was able to squeak out a win. It's my last remaining fantasy team that's in the playoffs. So fingers crossed they keep it up this week. A win is a win, though. A win is a win. They choose me. What am I drinking? I am drinking water with some raspberry lemonade flavoring. That's what I'm drinking out of this bottle. It's not Crystal Light. Close, Jake. Let's get back to it. Green Bay at Chicago. You should consider sitting Aaron Jones, okay, if you have healthier options. Chicago has been very good against the run this year. Extremely good. So good, in fact, that they are, if my computer will flop over here real quick, they are the best team against the run this year. Only giving up 13.42 points against opposing running backs. That is best in the league. And not only that, but they just completely shut down Todd Gurley and killed Todd Gurley owners last week. So, can you start Aaron Jones against them? I don't think so. Okay. Hopefully you have a better option. Check out the waiver wire show. So if you have Aaron Jones and you're desperate for a start, check out the waiver wire show that we dropped last night. Look at the running backs that we talked about there. And then I would consider some of those options, especially a guy like a Kenneth Dixon and Ito Smith that we just talked about. Unfortunately, you don't want to get too crazy in Week 15 and make a change at running back, especially with Aaron Jones, who we know has the potential to have big games. But because the matchup is so bad, I can't see myself going for it. As far as the Chicago running backs go, you're going to start Derrick Cohen. He's going to be in your lineup. Jordan Howard, I have the hashtag right. Hashtag never Howard. I don't really care what Howard does. Howard could put up 15 points. And I'm still going to keep him on my bench, even if you told me that going into it, just because I don't trust Howard. He has a really low ceiling, but he has a really low floor as well. He just hasn't been that good this year. Opportunity is there, but I really hope that if you have Howard, you have better options, or you're in a really deep league. Let's move on. Let's talk about, Russ real quick wants to know, Fournette, Chubb, or Carson, pick one. I am going with Fournette. Go with Fournette this week. Oakland at Cincinnati. Doug Martin is a start for me this week. Jalen Richard was the guy that was on last week. Did not do very good last week. Doug Martin is the guy to own on the ground there. Cincinnati giving up 26.79 points to opposing running backs. That is worst in the league. Definitely make sure that you start your Doug Martin shares this week. It might feel a little icky putting him in your lineup to begin with because he's not a guy that you really want to trust heading into championship week, especially if especially if you're looking for a win to move forward. But yeah, I'm going to put him out there 100%. Cincinnati, Joe Mixon, he's always a start. Yep, you don't sit Joe Mixon. He's in that must start category for me. So Joe Mixon is a start for me. I'm also going to start Doug Martin. I am not going to start Jalen Richard though. I will not start him this week. Jimmy wants to know Jeffrey Wilson, Mac, Connor, or Gus. I'm going to go Jeffrey Wilson this week. Mac, we're going to talk about him in a second. Connor, we still don't know if he's going to be back this week. All signs point to him being out again. Or Gus. We'll talk about Gus here in a minute as well, but I'm going to go Jeffrey Wilson there. Shane wants to know Dixon, Mac, or Ingram, pick one. I'm actually going to go with Dixon. Yeah, 100% I'm going with Dixon there. Anna wants to know if where sits would you start Damian Williams over Chubb? That's a tough one, Anna. I appreciate that question. I like that. I don't love making that call with Damian Williams. I don't love starting him over Chubb. Obviously, the potential for the matchup is there, but we don't know if the volume will be. And that's why I will still pick Chubb. So I really do appreciate that question, Anna, but I'm still going to go Chubb there if Ware sits. If Ware doesn't sit, then I'll start Ware. I will start Ware over Chubb this week. Moving on to the next one here real quick. Dallas at Indianapolis. I am sitting Marlon Mack this week. Not interested in putting him in my lineup. Dallas is giving up 11.95 points to opposing running backs. That is best in the league over the last 4 weeks. So I am not interested in throwing Marlon Mack out there this week. Ezekiel Elliott, obviously, he is a must start as well. One thing, let me check on something here real quick. We are live, but I do want to just throw something out here real quick when we're talking about the Dallas game, because Dallas, I don't think there has been a better move in the league this year than Dallas going out and trading that first round pick and getting themselves Amari Cooper. That was huge on their part. Ezekiel Elliott, okay, that's what I was wondering. Ezekiel Elliott up to number 5 for running backs in PPR leagues this year. I had him listed as the number 1 running back overall for the season. Not going to end up getting there, but he's looked so good the last few weeks. Finally starting to get used in the passing game quite a bit. Paulo wants to know about tight ends. Paulo, we do have a tight end show dropping tomorrow. Chris and Pierre from RotoBaller, they do the Fantasy Bomb. They are going to be handling that, so make sure you check out their video. And if they don't talk about these guys, leave them a question, okay? Isaac wants to know Samuels, Ware, or Carry On. I will go Samuels. No, excuse me, where? I'm sorry. I'm gonna go where? Where there? So Dallas to Indianapolis again. We're sitting Marlon Mack because of how well Dallas has played against the run. That defense is on fire right now. Ezekiel Elliott is always a start. Miami and Minnesota. Miami definitely gonna start Dalvin Cook. Really hope with the firing. With the firing today that we see more Dalvin Cook this week. And one of the things that I tweeted last night during the game was that Dalvin Cook was only averaging about a yard less per carry than what Kirk Cousins was averaging per completion, and they still were not giving him the ball, which made absolutely no sense. Hopefully we see more Dalvin Cook against a Miami team giving up 21.86 points to opposing running backs, 8th worst in the league. I expect to see more Dalvin Cook, so he's in my lineup. I'm starting him. Solid option, running back 1 potential this week for me. Then we have to look at Drake and Gore. Kerryon Drake and Frank Gore. What are we going to do with them? Well, in my opinion, we are going to sit them. Do not love those plays this week. Kenyon Drake just happened to bail us out last week if you're an owner with that miracle touchdown at the end of the game against New England. Frank Gore played well, but they're playing a Minnesota defense, only giving up 17.33 points to opposing running backs. That's 23rd best in the league. So that they are doing a very good job of at least stopping the run. So I don't love Drake or Gore this week. Tennessee at the New York Giants. So if you're out there, sorry about that. If you are out there and you started Derrick Henry last week, congratulations for making a call that was probably forced upon you because you weren't starting Derrick Henry thinking he was going to have that kind of a game. But if you have Derrick Henry, or if Derrick Henry is somehow still on your waiver wire, he's a guy that I'm starting against New York this week. I'm going to do it. I think that performance we saw last week, they're going to rely on him a little bit more. What we're going to see is I believe Tennessee is going to try and pound the ball against the Giants. Giants giving up the 11th most points to opposing running backs right now. So if Tennessee can get into a ground and pound challenge with New York and keep them from throwing the ball a whole lot, I think Tennessee has the option to win this game because the Giants are playing better. Obviously, Saquon Barkley is a must start, 100%. You're putting Barkley in your lineup, and you're not necessarily looking at this game and saying it's going to be a huge passing game because Eli Manning is Eli Manning. But again, I don't think it's going to be that kind of a back and forth. I think it's going to be a ground and pound between the two teams where they try and fight it out, let their defenses try to win the game. Tennessee with that good matchup against the Giants. I will start Derrick Henry this week if I'm still in a position where I really, really need him. If not, though, if you don't absolutely have to put him out there, do not start him over your studs. Please don't do that, okay? But if you have the option, I would do that. Let's go ahead and cross that one off. Next one on the list, Washington at Jacksonville. You're going to sit Chris Thompson. You're going to sit Adrian Peterson. And you're going to roll out Leonard Fournette. That's what you're going to do this week, 100%. Ned wants to know, is Justin Jackson a good pick for flex this week? Ned, absolutely. But again, it depends on who else you have out there. I'll get to a few more questions here in a minute as well, so stick around and start dropping your questions here in a moment. I'll go through more of those. But for everybody out there who's watching the recorded show, before I start addressing live questions, I want to get through all the games first, so I'll talk about those more in a minute. Sit Chris Thompson, sit Adrian Peterson, you roll out Leonard Fournette. That's an easy game to make a judgment call on there. Tampa Bay at Baltimore. We're going to start Kenneth Dixon if you need the upside. Kenneth Dixon is your upside play. Edwards is your floor play. Now, I don't really want to start Gus Edwards this week because he has absolutely no upside, because there's nothing for him in the passing game. So I am going to start Kenneth Dixon this week against Tampa Bay, giving up the 4th most points to opposing running backs this season, 23.59 points. Baltimore, though, top 3 defense. We're going to sit Peyton Barber. But Kenneth Dixon is your play, especially in PPR leagues. If it's standard, if you're in a standard league and you need help, then I'm probably going to roll Gus Johnson out in a standard league. Seattle at San Francisco, we're going to fire up Chris Carson. He continues to run the ball well. If something happens and he's out this week, then Rashad Penny gets close to being a start. But again, Mike Davis does offer problems for that. But keep an eye on Rashad Penny. Ran the ball well last night. I am going to be careful with Wilson this week, though. Don't love the matchup, but the volume more than likely will be there. We just need to keep an eye on and see if, for some reason or another, Breida makes a last-minute appearance and he does end up playing. Jeffrey Wilson is one that I'm keeping an eye on, though, as the week goes on. New England at Pittsburgh. I think Jalen Samuels is a good flex play this week. New England giving up 21.3 points to opposing running backs. That is ninth most. The volume was there for Samuels last week, a little bit more than what I expected because I thought I was going to see a little bit more from Ridley, but that didn't end up happening. And then New England, I'm actually off all the New England running backs this week. I'm not going to start White. I'm not going to start Burkhead. I'm not going to start Sony Michel. Sony Michel is the only one that I will start if I absolutely have to. I'm not going to start White, even if it's a PPR league. I want to find a better option. I don't love how those snaps are being distributed right now. James White continues to lose more and more and more and more every single week. So I am not liking that. So I'm going to stay away from those. Philadelphia at the Los Angeles Rams. I'm going to sit Josh Adams. Okay, even with the Corey Clement news, not interested in that. Boston Scott is an interesting pickup there for you dynasty owners. Keep an eye on that. Los Angeles Rams, of course, you're starting Todd Gurley. And moving on to the last game of the week on Monday night, New Orleans at Carolina. We get to start with a great matchup, Chargers at Kansas City. We get to end with a great matchup, New Orleans at Carolina. I'm hesitant with Mark Ingram this week. I'm probably not going to start Mark Ingram unless I find myself in a situation that I absolutely have to. So I'm going to list Mark Ingram as a sit this week. Alvin Kamara is obviously a must start. Christian McCaffrey is obviously a must start as well. So let's jump into some of these questions here. Talking running backs only right now, though. So if I skim over your question because it is something other than running backs, I apologize. Just remember, we do have wide receiver shows, quarterback and tight end shows, and then, of course, on Sunday, Jake and I will handle RotoBaller Game Day Live, where we'll take all of your start-sit questions and talk all positions. So save it for those. Make sure you hit me up on Twitter if you need to, at krich1532, and I will help answer all of your questions there, and we'll try to get to as many in the comment section we can this week. Don't rely on the comment section this week. We're normally very, very, very active, but heading into the end of the year, we're gearing up for baseball as well. We're a little bit short-staffed right now. We don't have nearly as many guys working the comments as we've had in previous weeks. The best way to get a hold of us is on Twitter, so please try to do that, or of course on Sunday. Let's see here. Hold on. Let me back up. Kendall said, hit me, Kyle. I'm not going to hit you, Kendall. I don't want to do that, man. So heard Gordon's a game-time decision. Should I play Jackson anyway? I don't think Gordon's going to play this week. I don't. He didn't practice today. I'm hearing that they're not confident in it. He hasn't practiced since the injury. If he had put in some practice time, I might be a little more confident in that. But I will go with Jackson this week because I don't think Melvin Gordon is going to play. Michael wants to know, just started watching. Is Aaron Jones a good start against the Bears? No, Michael. I had him listed as a start. I am not going with Aaron Jones. I'd rather grab somebody off waiver wires this week. Lucas wants to know, Cook or Chubb? I'm going Cook this week. Marcos puts in a great question here. Aaron Jones or Henry? I do like Henry this week. It hurts. It hurts to say it, people. I don't want to say it, but I have to. I have to say it. Man, we're getting a lot of questions. I could potentially let it flow. Who wants me to let it flow on running backs? Marcos, yeah, I'm going Henry over Aaron Jones. I don't like it, though. I don't like it, my man. S. Webb wants to know, pick 3 in standard. Aaron Jones, McGuire. It says D. Johnson, so I don't know if that's David or Duke. You have Cohen, Wilson, and Jordan Howard. In this situation, I'm going to go Cohen. I am going to go David Johnson, if that's David Johnson. If it's Duke, I'm not going to start Duke. I would start Wilson instead. And in this situation, I will go Aaron Jones. Even though I don't like his play this week, I like it better than that. Matthew wants to know Mixon or Chubb in PPR. Give me Mixon. Kyle wants to know James White or Kenyon Drake in PPR. I'm going to go James White instead because I think James White... I think we have to trust James White more than we trust Kenyon Drake this week. That's why I have to go there. Even though I don't like him as a start this week, I am definitely going to go at that point. Kendra wants me to let it flow. You guys really, really want me to, don't you? Flow away. I'm seeing it. You guys want me to let it flow, don't you? Why not? Let's do it. Let's let it flow. So if you're checking this out there and it's recorded, let it flow. One of the best segments on TV. Anywhere, anytime. Let's let it flow. But what I have to do here real quick is I need to get my stopwatch out. All right, let's go. Let's let this baby flow. Jake, if you're out there, I'm gonna do you proud, my man. I'm gonna do you proud. We have 269 people watching. We only have 46 likes. You want me to let it flow? We need more likes, people. We need more likes. We need 100 likes by the time I get done with that. So start hitting that like button. Start dropping those questions because we are going to let it flow with the gigantic Michigan helmet on. Let me get this out of the way so you can hear me a little bit better. This is what we do here, people. This is what we do. Are you ready for this? Let's get going. Jake panics as Kyle steals his bit. No, Jake and I are good. He's good. Let's start this thing up. 3, 2, 1. Let it flow. Nick wants to know, Zeke, Cook, flex Aaron Jones or Sonny Michel. I'm going to flex Sonny Michel. Standard, Marlon Mack, Sonny Michel, or Justin Jackson at the flex. Go Justin Jackson. Henry, Jackson, Mixon, Fournette. Pick 2, Mixon and Fournette. Which 2 should I play out of Aaron Jones, Nick Chubb, Justin Jackson, Spencer Ware? Go with Justin Jackson and Spencer Ware. Unless Spencer Ware is out, then go Nick Chubb instead. How Josh Adams looking for this week? I have him listed as a sit. Down James Conner, Melvin Gordon, not 100% Tyreek Hill, and Aaron Jones is playing Chicago. Don't like that matchup for you. Drop Carry-On, Gus, or Breida for Henry. I'm going to drop Carry-On for Henry. Mixon, Henry, Fournette, Cook. I don't know how many I need to pick, but give me Mixon, Fournette, Cook, Henry in that order. Scrolling down here again, Chubb or Henry, give me Henry. Not taking any questions other than running back. Cohen or Henry in flex PPR, go with Cohen. Henry, Jackson, Mixon, Fournette, please pick. Give me, I just went through that one. Fournette, Mixon, Jackson, Henry in that order. Justin Jackson or David Johnson? David Johnson. Standard League Mac, Martin or Wilson, choose one. I'm going Doug Martin. Woods or Fournette? Give me Fournette. Jackson or Carson? Give me Carson. Full PPR, Fournette, Lindsey, Sony, Michelle, Jalen Samuels. If I have to pick one, it's going to be Lindsey because it's PPR. Then Fournette after that. Then Samuels. Then Michelle this week. Wilson Jr., Justin Jackson, Ito, Damon Williams, Kenneth Dixon, pick 2. I'm going to go Justin Jackson and Kenneth Dixon. If Melvin sits, who to start? Mac, McGuire, Damian Williams, Coleman, Ito, or Dixon. So many names to choose from there. I'm going to go with Dixon. Ito Smith or Dixon, go Dixon. Ingram or Eckler, go Ingram because Eckler is not supposed to play this week. Chubb, Lindsey, Gurley, Cohen, Cook. Gurley, Cook, Lindsey, Chubb, Cohen in that order, Cohen then Chubb in that order if it's PPR. Samuels or Aaron Jones, go with Samuels. David Johnson or Jalen Samuels, go with David Johnson. Henry, Jackson, Mixon, Fournette, please pick 2. It is definitely Mixon and Fournette for me, 100%. James White or Aaron Jones or Sexy Rexy. Give me Aaron Jones in that matchup just because he's the only one guaranteed the volume. Santiago says, low-key, I look like Aaron Rodgers. I guess that's a good thing maybe? I don't know. Samuels or Cook, go Cook. Lindsey, Drake, or Ingram. I'm going Lindsey there. David Johnson, Gus, Ingram, and or Ware, go David Johnson. Josh Adams or McGuire, go Josh Adams. And that's going to wrap it up, people. That was a decent let it flow. I like that. That was just under 3 minutes. Just under 3 minutes. But I only got 80 likes. You guys got to give me more likes than 80 if I'm going to be putting on a massively oversized helmet and answering your questions as quickly as possible. That's going to take us just over the 30-minute mark, though. So because we're just over 30 minutes, we're going to go ahead and get ready to shut this down. The hair's in the way. Messing up the hair today. That's all right, though. Hopefully, if you were tuning in for the first time, you liked what you saw. Make sure you stick around. We have a lot more shows showing up this week. I'm going to be doing a wide receiver show that is live tomorrow night. We have quarterbacks and tight ends dropping tomorrow as well, so keep an eye on those. The waiver wire show is already out. Make sure you hit me up on Twitter, okay? Again, hit me up on Twitter this week with your questions. Not going to be nearly as active getting to the comments comments this week. I apologize. A little bit short-staffed when it comes to answering questions this week because we have guys turning their focus over to baseball right now, because that's another huge thing that we do over at RotoBaller. So make sure you hit me up on Twitter at krich1532, and I will be sure to answer all of your questions over there. Thanks to everyone for tuning in tonight. Really appreciated it. Had a really good crowd tonight for being a Tuesday night at 10 o'clock at night. So appreciate that. Hit that like button if you haven't done it already. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it already as well. And I will make sure to see you tomorrow night on the Wide Receiver Start Sit Show. Have a good night, everyone, and I'll catch you later. Thanks.